friends, what's up? My name is Joss and welcome back to squibblesreads. Over the past couple weeks I have accumulated quite a few books from the library and also a couple that were sent to me by publishers, so I'm going to show them all to you today. The first book that I have is Mr. Splitfoot by Samantha Hunt. I first heard about this book on Mercedes' channel at Mercy's Bookish Musings and also from Brittany at Under the Radar Books. And I'll leave a link to Mercedes' review in the down bar below. This book follows two storylines. The first one is of Nat and Ruth, who are both teens that are being kept in an abusive, cult-like foster home family. Nat entertains some of the kids there by talking to the dead. The second storyline happens around 20 years later when Ruth shows up on the doorstep of her niece Cora, who finds herself accidentally pregnant. The two of them take a road trip around the whole state of New York. It sounds totally twisty and creepy and questions a lot of human nature, so I'm super stoked about this one. The next book that I picked up was The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. I'm sure y'all have heard of the series before, so I finally decided to nab it from the library. In my last library haul, I did borrow The Scorpio Races, also by Maggie Stiefvater. I never did get around to it, so I don't know how exactly me and her get along. But hopefully I will enjoy it. And my next pick is actually my BookTube Recommends TBR pick of the month, and it is The Rest of Us Just Live Here by Patrick Ness, which was recommended to me by Marinus at My Name is Marinus. So what it's about is that a lot of stories in the media and in books focus on like this heroic character or heroic kid. This book focuses on the more ordinary kids and the struggles that they go through in everyday life. I'm really interested to see what I think of this because it has a bunch of mixed reviews, but honestly, I'm just hoping that it makes me think a lot. Next, we have The Storied Life of A.J. Fickery by Gabrielle Zevin. I started this book a couple years ago when it came out, but I did have to put it down because my life got crazy chaotic. Everyone wants me to read it again because it is so cute and whimsical, so when I saw it at the library, I knew I had to have it. It's about a man named A.J. Fickery whose wife has actually passed away and his bookstore is not doing very well financially. On top of that, a really treasured collection of poems by Edgar Allan Poe has been stolen from him. A bunch of people like his sister-in-law Ismay, a kind police officer, and also this publishing sales rep named Amelia are all trying to get him to open up again, but he finds himself withdrawing from them instead. One day a package shows up on his doorstep that throws his whole life for a loop. I got about halfway through the first time and I was really enjoying it, so hopefully I continue to enjoy it this time around. Up next I have A Man Called Uba by Frederick Bachman. I actually heard about this book on Max's channel from Well Done Books, and I'll leave a link to his review in the down bar too. It's about a man named Uba and he can only be classified as curmudgeonly, and I just really love saying that word. He appears to be your stereotypical grumpy old man whose neighbors are kind of scared of him but also are amused by him as well. One day a friendly young couple and their two kids move in next door and all sorts of funny and heartwarming things happen. I also grabbed The School of Geneva by Soman Chenani. A bunch of booktubers did a buddy read of this last month and I've been wanting to read it for a long time. It was finally on the shelf at my library, so I did pick it up. It is about two best friends, Sophie and Agatha. Sophie is more oriented towards the school of good, so she wears like frilly dresses, pretty slippers, and she also is a do-gooder generally. On the other hand, Agatha really loves her witchy black cloaks and her mean pet cat, so she seems destined for the school of evil. However, of course something goes wrong one day in the Endless Woods and they find their fates reversed. Agatha ends up in the school of good and Sophie ends up in the school of evil. I also saw another new-ish release called Worlds of Ink and Shadow by Lena Coakley. It is a YA fictional novel about the Bronte sisters, Charlotte, Branwell, Emily, and Anne. They get transported into this world that they've created and written called Verdopolis, and the story goes on from there. I am not entirely sure what to expect, or what this world has to do with the Bronte sisters' writing, but I have always enjoyed their books, so with this book I'm looking for equal parts nostalgia and adventure. And next we have Single Carefree Mellow by Katherine Heine, which is a short story collection that is the author's debut. Each of the stories has something to do with love, and how honesty, pleasure, kindness, and circumstances out of our control affect our relationship and our emotions. There are 11 stories in total. One of them is called The Blue Heron Bridge, and it's about a woman named Nina who is housing a minister in her garage, and she's really worried about him hearing that her children have started swearing. Another one is about the ties that social media can have. A woman named Josie met her ex-boyfriend on Facebook, and he has a new girlfriend friend who he met on Twitter. So it all has something to do with like interpersonal shenanigans, and I've been super itching to read a short story collection lately. Speaking of short story collections, Bloomsbury very kindly sent me one, and it's called Scary Old Sex by Arlene Hayman. It came out 2 days ago on March the 8th, and I know that it is already super pretty with its dust jacket. However, when you take the dust jacket off, it is this beautiful peachy, salmony, corally color, and it is so gorgeous. Arlene Hayman is a practicing psychiatrist and psychoanalyst in New York. She tackles issues like ageism, illness in the context of aging, caretaking, and death. I'm super interested in reading these stories because some of them are autobiographical, and I love reading about how we grow and evolve as human beings over the time span of our lives, and how health plays a role in both our culture and our sexuality. Of course, I'm really stoked to get the perspective of someone on these issues who is a practicing psychiatrist and psychoanalyst. I was also very kindly sent A Small Indiscretion by Jan Ellison by Penguin Random House. It's kind of a case study and also a thriller about a woman named Annie Black. One night when she was 19, she moved to London for a little bit and she had like a night of debauchery and alcohol. Flash forward to now, she's in her 30s and she is a happily married mother of 3 and a lighting designer. One day she finds a letter in her mailbox that sends her reeling back to that night in London. I'm super stoked to get into this one because it sounds like exactly my cup of tea. Alright, so that is all the books that I've accumulated in the past little while. If you guys have any comments, questions, or anything else, please leave it down below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye! A tag that says Under the Radar Books, and then on the back of the tag it's got a description of kind of the general